The city was silent that night. Above the broken rooftops, the sky was filled with smoke and fading stars. Earth was not the same anymore. The oceans were poisoned, the air was heavy, and people lived with fear that tomorrow might be their last day. Governments had failed, armies had failed, and scientists had failed. But in the middle of this darkness, a strange decision was made. A group of people, not heroes, not champions, but misfits, were chosen for a mission that no one else dared to accept. There was Rian, a mechanic who always made mistakes. He had been fired from every job he ever got. People laughed at him, called him useless, and said he was a danger to any machine he touched. Yet, he was the first one selected. Then came Dr. Alara, a doctor who once lost a patient during surgery. People never forgave her. They said she was careless, heartless, and too cold to save lives. She stopped practicing, lived in silence, and hid her shame. No one trusted her anymore, yet she too was chosen. The third was Cade, a soldier who never followed orders. He broke rules, fought with his own team, and lived with the anger of war. His commanders hated him, but still he was chosen. And finally, there was Lyra, an orphan whose past was a mystery. No one knew where she came from, who her parents were, or why she always carried a scar across her neck. She never spoke much, but her eyes were sharp and restless. Somehow, she too was on the list. These 4 people had no connection, no friendship, and no reason to trust each other. But one morning, soldiers arrived at their doors, handed them sealed letters, and said only one thing: report to the Sky Station. Humanity's last hope depends on you. At first, they thought it was a mistake. How could the world trust them, the failures, the broken ones, when better men and women existed? But the orders were final. When they arrived at the Sky Station, the place was buzzing with energy. Scientists ran with papers, soldiers guarded every corner, and huge screens showed the fading Earth from space cameras. It looked like a dying planet, gasping for air. Inside a large hall, the misfits met for the first time. Rian crossed his arms and muttered, "This must be a joke. They want me to fix spaceships? I can't even fix a car without breaking it." Cade laughed sharply. "If this is humanity's last hope, then we're already dead." Dr. Alara's face stayed calm, but her voice was cold. "You think it's funny? Millions will die if we fail. Maybe you should take this seriously." Lyra stood at the corner, silent. Her eyes moved from face to face, studying them like a puzzle she didn't trust. Before they could argue more, the hall doors opened. A tall officer in black uniform stepped in. His voice was deep and firm. "You are here because the world has no one else. The brightest minds have failed. The strongest armies have lost. The clean and perfect ones are broken under pressure. But you are already broken. And sometimes only the broken ones know how to survive." The words hung heavy in the air. None of them replied. The officer continued, "This mission is not about honor. It is not about pride. It is about survival. Earth is collapsing. In less than 10 years, there will be nothing left. We found signals of a habitable planet far in the void of space. You will travel there. You will make sure humanity can live again. If you succeed, our species survives. If you fail, there will be nothing left." The misfits exchanged looks. Shock, fear, doubt, every emotion showed on their faces. "Why us?" Rian finally asked, his voice shaky. The officer stared at them with cold eyes. "Because no one else is willing to take the risk. And maybe because misfits are harder to predict. You might just surprise the universe." The briefing ended, and the 4 were taken to their quarters. The station lights hummed around them. Machines whirred, and the stars outside blinked faintly. For the first time, they realized this was no joke. They were chosen not because they were the best, but because they were the last option. That night, none of them slept. Rian stared at his trembling hands, wondering if he could ever repair something without destroying it. Dr. Alara whispered silent apologies to the ghost of the patient she had lost. Cade polished his old army knife, knowing rules were useless now. And Lyra sat by the window, watching the stars, her scar burning with memories no one else knew. The void was waiting. But the question remained, why would anyone trust the broken ones with humanity's future? And deep in their hearts, each of them wondered if this mission was a chance for redemption or just another cruel punishment. The next morning, the sky station echoed with alarms and rushing footsteps. The misfits were led to the training chambers, giant white rooms filled with machines, weapons, and simulators. Screens flashed warnings, and voices announced instructions. The air was tense, heavy with expectation. But inside, the four misfits stood awkwardly, looking at each other with doubt. They were supposed to become a team, but they felt more like strangers trapped in the same cage. The first test was simple: learn to control a space rover simulator. The rover was a massive metal beast with dozens of buttons and glowing lights. Rian, the mechanic, was ordered to drive it. His hands trembled as he sat in the chair. "Relax," the instructor barked. Rian nodded nervously. He pressed the wrong button, and suddenly the rover slammed into a wall inside the simulator. The whole machine shook. Sparks flew. Cade burst out laughing. "I knew it. This guy can't even drive a toy car, and is going to take us across galaxies." Rian's face burned red. It's just practice. I'll get it right." But the laughter echoed. The instructor shook his head, already doubting if this mission had any chance. The second test was for Dr. Ilara. She was asked to treat a wound on a soldier's arm inside the medbay. Simple enough. But as she picked up the tools, her hands froze. She saw blood, and suddenly her mind went back to the night she had lost a patient. The face of that dying man haunted her. Her breath grew heavy. She dropped the scalpel. The soldier hissed in pain. The instructors looked disappointed. Cade muttered under his breath, "Some doctor." Ilara clenched her fists, forcing herself to continue. She stitched the wound, but her delay was enough for everyone to see. Her confidence was broken. Then it was Cade's turn. He had to run a combat drill with drones. As the machines fired lasers, he dodged and shot back. His speed was unmatched, his aim perfect. For a moment, it looked like he was the only one who truly belonged here. But then, the system ordered him to retreat and follow team orders. Cade ignored it. He charged forward, destroying every drone in sight. The room filled with sparks and smoke. When it ended, the instructor yelled, "You disobeyed direct orders. You risked the mission for your pride." Cade smirked. "Orders don't win wars. People do." Everyone stared at him in silence. The truth was clear. He was strong, but reckless. And finally, there was Lyra. Her test was different. She was locked in a dark room with nothing but silence. Hidden cameras watched her every move. For 10 minutes, she did not move, did not speak, did not react. Her eyes simply stared into the darkness. When the door opened, the officer asked, "What did you feel in there?" Lyra looked straight at him and whispered, "The void is not empty. Something watches." Her words chilled the room. Nobody understood what she meant, but the silence that followed was heavy. Days turned into weeks. The misfits trained harder, but their failures piled up. Rian broke more machines than he fixed. Ilara's hesitation kept costing precious time. Cade kept ignoring orders, and Lyra's strange silence made others uneasy. Whispers spread across the sky station. Scientists and soldiers laughed behind their backs. "These are the ones who will save humanity? We're already doomed." The misfits heard the whispers, and doubt grew inside them. One night, as they sat in the dining hall, the tension exploded. "This is pointless," Rian said, dropping his food tray. "They picked the wrong people. We're not heroes. We're rejects. They should send someone else." Cade slammed his fist on the table. "Speak for yourself. I can handle anything they throw at me. You're the one dragging us down. And you think you're a leader." Ilara snapped. "You're nothing but a wild dog. If you can't follow orders, you'll get us all killed." Cade stood up, eyes burning. "Better to fight than to freeze. Doctor." Ilara glared, but before she could respond, Lyra spoke softly. "You're all wrong." Everyone turned to her. She rarely spoke. Her voice was low but sharp. "This mission isn't about who's better. It's about survival. Out there, no one cares if you're strong, weak, brave, or broken. The void eats everyone. If we don't stand together, it will eat us too." Her words silenced the table. For the first time, they realized she was right. But before they could answer, alarms blared across the station. A voice shouted through the speakers, "Emergency! Prepare for immediate launch. This is not a drill. The 4 misfits were rushed through glowing corridors toward the launch bay. Scientists strapped them into their suits. Officers shouted commands, and the ground shook beneath their feet. As they entered the massive spaceship, Rianne whispered, "We're not ready. We'll never be ready." The engines roared. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Ilara closed her eyes, her lips trembling in silent prayer. Cade gripped the armrest, fire burning in his chest. Lyra stared at the stars, her scar glowing faintly in the dim light. 3, 2, 1. The ship blasted into the sky, leaving Earth behind in a storm of fire and smoke. The planet shrank below them, fragile and dying. Ahead was only darkness. And in that moment, doubt filled their hearts. They were not a team. They were not heroes. They were misfits, thrown into the void. But the universe did not care. Their journey had already begun. The ship trembled as it cut through the atmosphere. Fire roared against its metal skin before silence swallowed it whole. For the first time, the misfits left Earth behind. Below them, the blue planet shrank into nothing but a fading light, and ahead stretched endless darkness. Inside the cabin, the air was heavy with fear. Rian gripped the control panel, his knuckles white. His eyes darted nervously from one blinking light to another. So many buttons. What if I press the wrong one? Cade rolled his eyes. Just don't touch anything. We'll survive longer that way. Ilara sat quietly, her hands folded tightly. She wanted to say something, anything to calm them, but her own heart beat too fast. Her mind replayed the officer's words. It was less than 10 years. The weight of millions of lives pressed on her shoulders. Lyra, however, stayed calm. She stared out the window, her eyes fixed on the black ocean of stars. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. The void is watching. The others turned to her. Rianne frowned. What does that even mean? But Lyra gave no answer. She simply pressed her hand against the glass, as if she could feel something beyond the stars. Hours passed. The hum of the ship filled the silence. The misfits were ordered to test the systems, but nothing felt normal. Rianne tried to check the engine, but alarms kept flashing. Ilara monitored oxygen levels, her hands trembling each time the numbers dipped even slightly. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the cabin. The ship's computer spoke. Warning. Oxygen leak detected. Everyone froze. Cade shot up from his seat. Where? Section B, near the storage bay. Ilara replied quickly, her voice sharp with panic. Rianne grabbed his toolkit and rushed down the narrow corridor. His hands shook as he opened the panel. Air hissed out violently, and frost began to cover the walls. His breath fogged inside his helmet. Fix it. Cade shouted, standing behind him. I'm trying. Rianne snapped, fumbling with his tools. He dropped a wrench, cursed under his breath, and fought to seal the leak. The hole was small but deadly. In space, even a pin-sized crack could mean death. Ilara's voice echoed through the radio. Oxygen is dropping fast. 5 minutes until critical. Rianne's mind raced. His fingers slipped. I can't do it. I'll mess it up. Cade's hand slammed on his shoulder. No choice. Do it now. Rianne closed his eyes, forced himself to breathe, and tightened the valve. The hissing slowed. He adjusted the seal again, sweat dripping down his face. Finally, the sound stopped. The frost faded. The system lights turned green. The computer spoke again. Leak sealed. Oxygen stable. Rianne collapsed against the wall, his chest heaving. I did it. I actually did it. Cade smirked. About time you proved useful. But Ilara's voice trembled. Don't celebrate yet. That leak wasn't natural. It looks intentional. Silence fell. Everyone exchanged nervous glances. Intentional. Rianne repeated. You mean someone did this on purpose? Ilara nodded slowly. The seal was cut clean, like a blade, not a crack. The air in the cabin grew colder. Cade's eyes narrowed. So either someone on this ship tried to kill us, or something out there doesn't want us alive. Later that night, when the alarms faded and the ship drifted quietly, the crew gathered in the main cabin. No one trusted each other fully anymore. Doubt filled the air like poison. Ilara stayed at the others. If one of us is a traitor, we need to know. Otherwise, we won't survive. Cade crossed his arms. I've got nothing to hide. But Rian? He's the only one who panics every 5 seconds. Rian's face burned red. Me? I saved your life. Why would I cut the oxygen and then fix it? Ilara shook her head. We can't accuse without proof. Then, slowly, all eyes turned toward Lyra. She had been silent the whole time, sitting in the corner with her scar catching the dim light. She looked back at them, her voice calm and cold. It wasn't me. But I know one thing. The void is not empty. It's alive, and it's watching us. Rian shivered. You keep saying that, but what does it mean? Lyra didn't answer. She just pressed her hand against the glass again, staring into the stars. For a moment, her reflection looked almost different. As the ship continued its journey, strange signals began to play through the radio. At first, it was just static. Then, slowly, a pattern formed. 3 short beeps. 2 long. 3 short again. Ilara leaned forward. That's Morse code. But from where? Rian's eyes widened. There's nothing out here. No stations, no satellites, nothing. The beeping repeated, louder this time. 3 short. 2 long. 3 short. Cade muttered, It's a message. Ilara swallowed hard. Yes, and it's the same pattern used by distress signals from lost ships. Everyone froze. Rian whispered, You mean other missions? But they all failed. The cabin grew darker. The signal grew louder, almost like a cry in the emptiness. And in that moment, the misfits realized something terrifying. They were not alone in the void. The ship drifted through the endless void, guided by the strange signal that refused to stop. 3 short beeps, 2 long, 3 short again. Over and over. It was haunting, like a heartbeat in the silence of space. Finally, the source appeared on the radar. A massive, broken structure floated in the blackness, an abandoned space station. Its metal skin was scarred, parts of it ripped apart as if something had clawed through. Lights flickered weakly on its surface, like the last breaths of a dying giant. The misfit stood at the viewing window, staring at the ghostly station. Rian swallowed hard. Please tell me we're not going in there. Cade smirked. Of course we are. The signal's coming from inside, and if there are supplies or information, we need them. Ilara's voice was uneasy. That place looks dead. What if it's a trap? Lyra's eyes never left the station. Her voice was cold. It's not dead. It's waiting. Her words sent a chill through the cabin. Ducking was rough. The ship shook as it latched onto the ruined station. The airlock hissed, and a hollow sound echoed through the corridor beyond. The misfits put on their suits, oxygen tanks strapped to their backs, and stepped into the dark belly of the forgotten place. Inside, silence pressed against them like a heavy weight. The walls were covered in scratches, long marks that no human tool could make. Wires hung like vines, and broken panels sparked faintly. The air smelled of rust and something sour, something old. Their flashlights cut through the darkness. Every step echoed too loudly. This place gives me the creeps, Rian whispered. Stay alert, Cade ordered, his hand tight around his weapon. They moved deeper. Strange drawings covered the walls, symbols scratched by human hands, desperate words written in shaky lines. Don't listen. Don't trust. The void lies. Ilara's voice trembled. These were made by people. The last crew. They must have been trying to warn us. Rian shook his head nervously. Warn us about what? No one answered. They reached the control room. A cracked screen blinked faintly. Ilara rushed to the console, her fingers moving quickly. With effort, she pulled up a log file. A distorted voice filled the room. This is Commander Hale of Mission 12. The void is not empty. Something follows us. It whispers in the dark, and it takes our people one by one. We tried to fight it, but it lives inside the silence. If anyone finds this, turn back. Save yourselves. The recording ended in static. The misfits froze, their breaths heavy in their helmets. Rian whispered, We shouldn't be here. But before anyone could reply, a loud clang echoed through the station. Something had moved. Cade raised his weapon instantly. "Who's there?" Only silence answered. They pressed forward, searching for the source of the sound. In the medical bay, they found something worse than any noise. Bodies. Dozens of frozen bodies floated inside cracked cryo chambers. Their faces were pale, mouths twisted in silent screams. Some chambers were shattered from the inside, as if the people had tried desperately to break free. Ilara covered her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. They suffocated in here. Rian turned away, bile rising in his throat. This is wrong. This whole place is wrong. Lyra, however, walked slowly among the chambers, her fingers brushing against the cold glass. Her expression was unreadable. "These are not just dead," she said softly. "They were consumed." Cade frowned. "Consumed? By what?" Lyra's eyes flicked toward the shadows. "By the void itself." Before anyone could question her, another sound echoed through the corridor. This time, it was not random. It was footsteps. Heavy, slow, coming closer. Rian panicked. "There's someone here." Cade aimed his weapon toward the darkness. "Show yourself." But nothing appeared. Only shadows stretched across the walls, moving like they were alive. Suddenly, the station lights flickered violently, and the distress signal returned, louder than before. 3 short beeps. 2 long. 3 short. Ilara's voice cracked. "It's not just a signal. It's bait." Rian's heart pounded. We walked right into a trap. They ran back toward the docking corridor. The station seemed to twist around them, holes stretching longer, doors closing by themselves, whispers brushing against their ears. "Leave, leave, leave." The voices were faint, but they were there. Finally, they reached the airlock. Cade hit the controls, but the door jammed. Sparks shot out as the system failed. "Move!" Rian shouted, diving forward to fix it. His hand shook, but desperation made him faster. He ripped out wires, crossed them, and forced the door to open. They scrambled back into their ship, sealing the hatch behind them. The silence returned, but their hearts still raced. Breathing heavily, they collapsed into their seats. Ilara's voice was shaky. That thing killed them. It killed all of them. And it almost killed us." Rian wiped sweat from his face. "We can't do this. We're not ready for this." Cade growled. "Ready or not, we're in it now." Lyra sat quietly, her gaze still locked on the abandoned station drifting outside. Her scar seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. "Finally," she whispered, "the void doesn't want us to leave. It wants us to join the ghosts." Her words hung in the air like ice. And deep inside, each of them knew the truth. Something out there was watching. Something that had already taken others before them. And it would not stop until it had them too. The ship drifted silently after escaping the abandoned station. No one spoke for hours. The shadows of the frozen bodies and the haunting whispers still clung to their minds. Every flicker of light, every hum of the engine felt like a warning. Inside the cabin, tension grew thick. The misfits sat apart, each lost in thought. Rian broke the silence first. "We almost died in there. If I hadn't opened the airlock." Cade cut him off sharply. "If you hadn't panicked in the first place, maybe we wouldn't have been trapped at all." Rian's face turned red. "I saved us. Don't forget that." Ilara raised her hands, her voice firm. "Stop it, both of you. Fighting each other won't help. We need to focus on the mission." But Lyra spoke softly from a corner, her eyes fixed on the stars. "It's not the void we should fear most. It's the cracks inside us. That's where the real danger hides." Her words silenced the cabin again. Later, as the crew slept, alarms suddenly blared. The ship jolted violently, throwing them from their bunks. Lights flashed red. Rian scrambled to controls. Engine failure. The main core is overheating. Ilara rushed to the monitor. "That doesn't make sense. We just checked it yesterday. It was fine." Cade swore under his breath. Someone tampered with it. The words hung in the air like a knife. "Tampered." Rian stammered. "You think one of us?" "Yes," Cade snapped. One of us is trying to kill the mission. Ilara shook her head, her face pale. We can't accuse each other without proof. But the evidence was already clear. The engine wasn't broken by chance. Wires had been cut clean, just like the oxygen leak before. They worked frantically to stabilize the ship. Rian's hands moved faster than ever, patching wires, rerouting systems, sweat pouring down his face. Ilara held tools for him, her eyes darting nervously around. Cade guarded the room, watching everyone like a hawk. Finally, the alarm stopped. The engine hummed steadily again. The ship was alive, but the trust between them was dead. That night, in the dining hall, Cade slammed his fist on the table. I'm done pretending. Someone here wants us dead. We need to find out who. Rian raised his hand quickly. Not me. I'm barely holding it together. Why would I sabotage the only thing keeping me alive? Cade glared. Fear makes people dangerous. Maybe you thought if the mission failed, you'd be free of this nightmare. Rian's voice cracked. That's insane. Ilara cut in, her tone sharp. Enough. Pointing fingers won't solve anything. We need to think, logically. But Cade wasn't listening. His eyes narrowed on Lyra. She sat calmly, her scar glowing faintly in the dim light. She had barely spoken since the engine failure. Cade growled. You always talk about the void, about how it's alive. Maybe you don't want us to survive. Maybe you're helping it. Lyra finally looked at him. Her gaze was cold, unshaken. If I wanted you dead, you would already be gone. The room went silent. Her words carried a strange weight, too calm, too certain. Rian whispered, Then who is it? Who's the traitor? The answer came sooner than they expected. The next day, while Ilara was running medical scans, she found something hidden inside the storage bay, an explosive device wired to the fuel supply. Her hands shook as she called the others. Look at this. Someone planted a bomb. Rian gasped. Oh, God. Cade's face darkened. We're dealing with a murderer. But before they could react, the lights flickered and the bomb's timer lit up. 10 minutes. Panic erupted. Rian dropped to his knees, fumbling with wires. I can disarm it. I think I'll try. Ilara knelt beside him, guiding his trembling hands. Cut the red wire first. Slowly. Cade stood guard, weapon drawn, his eyes scanning the shadows. He knew the traitor was watching them. And then it happened. A sudden shove. Rian's hand slipped, nearly cutting the wrong wire. He looked up in shock. Cade was pressing the blade of his knife against his throat. Everyone froze. Ilara gasped. Cade, what are you doing? Cade's eyes burned with cold fury. You don't get it, do you? This mission is a lie. There is no new planet. No hope. The void is our grave, and I won't be a puppet in their game. Better to die free than to crawl like slaves. Rian's voice shook. You sabotaged everything. The oxygen, the engine, this bomb. Cade sneered. Of course. Why waste time pretending? Humanity doesn't deserve to survive. Let it burn. Ilara's hands trembled. You'll kill us all. That's the point, Cade growled. For a moment, it seemed like the end. But then Lyra moved. Fast, silent, like a shadow. She slammed into Cade, twisting his knife away and pinning him to the floor. Her scar glowed under the harsh lights, her eyes blazing. You want death, she hissed, but we are not done living. Ilara grabbed a bomb, working quickly with Rian. The timer ticked down. 5 seconds, 4, 3, until finally the device went dark. Silence filled the room. Rian collapsed, shaking. We're alive. Ilara exhaled deeply, her heart racing. Cade lay restrained, glaring at them with pure hatred. You think you've won? The void will take you anyway. You can't escape it. Lyra leaned close, her voice like ice. Maybe, but we will fight until the last breath. That's what makes us human. The words echoed in the cabin. The betrayal was revealed. The team was broken. And yet, for the first time, they understood the truth. Survival was not about perfection. It was about defiance, even against the void. The ship floated through endless darkness, carrying scars from betrayal and near-death. Cade was locked in a sealed chamber, his voice echoing threats whenever he pounded on the walls. Rian avoided looking at him. Ilara kept a focus on medical logs, and Lyra, silent as always, watched the stars as though she could read secrets hidden in their light. Days passed, and finally, the navigation system beeped. A blue-green planet shimmered on the screen, glowing like a jewel in the void. Rian's eyes widened. That's it. That's the new world. Ilara's voice trembled. It's beautiful. For the first time since the journey began, hope stirred in their hearts. But hope didn't last long. As they drew closer, alarms shrieked across the cabin. The ship jolted violently, throwing them against their seats. Outside, enormous structures floated in orbit around the planet. Machines older than anything human, glowing with a strange energy. Warning, the computer announced. Unidentified defense system activated. Beams of light shot across the darkness, striking dangerously close to their ship. Metal screamed as the hull shook. Rian clutched the controls. They are targeting us. I can't dodge this much longer. Ilara scanned the systems. These defenses, they're automated. They are designed to keep intruders out. Cade's mocking voice came through the chamber speaker. See? I told you. No new home. Just death waiting for us. Lyra turned, her eyes hard. Be quiet. The ship shuddered again as another blast hit. Warnings blade. Shields critical. Hull integrity 50%. Rian's hand shook. We can't take much more. Ilara's mind raced. There has to be a way through. Look at the pattern. They are not random shots. They are scanning us. Lyra's gaze sharpened. Testing us. Like guardians at a gate. Cade laughed bitterly from his cell. Guardians that will kill you before they ever let you in. The crew split into action. Rian pushed the engines to their limit. Dodging blasts as sparks flew across a control board. Sweat dripped down his forehead, every move fueled by fear. Ilara dug into the alien signal patterns, trying to decode them. Numbers and symbols flashed across her screen. They're looking for something, recognition codes maybe. If I can match the sequence, they might stop firing. Lyra stood behind her, calm despite the chaos. Listen closely. The void always whispers before it strikes. Find the rhythm. Ilara focused, her hands flying over the keys. The alien symbols aligned slowly with Earth signal codes. Almost there. Another beam slammed into the ship, shaking it violently. Oxygen levels dropped. Panels burst into flames. Rian screamed, "We won't survive the next hit." At the last second, Ilara pressed a final sequence. A pulse of blue light spread from their ship. The defense systems paused. For a long moment, silence filled the void. Then, one by one, the machines shifted, their weapons lowering. A corridor of light opened, leading toward the planet. "They're letting us through," Ilara whispered, relief flooding her voice. Rian laughed shakily. "We did it. We're alive." But the relief didn't last. Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed again, not from the outside, but from within. The sealed chamber had been breached. Cade had broken free. He stormed into the cabin, rage burning in his eyes, a weapon in his hands. "You fools! You think this planet will save you? You'll just build the same dying world again. Better to end it here." He pointed the weapon at the control console. One shot, and their only chance at survival would vanish. Rian froze. Don't do this." Ilara's voice cracked with desperation. "Cade, please. We've come so far. If not for us, then for the billions still on Earth, give humanity a chance." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Pain, anger, maybe even regret. But then he tightened his grip. Lyra moved. She stepped between Cade and the console, her voice cold and sharp. "You betrayed us once. You won't again." Cade sneered. "Move, girl." Lyra's scar glowed faintly under the flickering lights. Her voice was steady, unshaken. "If you want to destroy the last hope of our kind, you'll have to kill me first." The cabin froze. Rian's breath caught. Ilara's hands trembled. The silence stretched. Cade's weapon shook slightly. His jaw clenched. And then, in a burst of fury, he lunged forward. Lyra was faster. She twisted his arm, the weapon clattering to the floor. With strength born of desperation, she pinned him against the wall. Rian grabbed the weapon and aimed it, his hand shaking. "It's over, Cade. It's over." Cade's eyes burned with hatred. "You think you've won? The void never lets go. It will take you, all of you." Ilara's voice was soft, but firm. "Maybe it will, but not today." With effort, they restrained Cade again, locking him back in the chamber. This time, reinforced, the ship passed through the glowing corridor. Ahead, the planet grew larger, its ocean shimmering, its lands glowing with untouched beauty. For the first time, the Misfits could imagine life beyond despair. But the cost was heavy. Trust was shattered. Betrayal had cut deep, and the void still lingered in their hearts. As the ship descended toward the atmosphere, Lyra whispered words that sent a chill through the others. "The void is patient. It will wait, even here." And though hope filled their eyes as the planet drew near, they knew the final test was still to come. This was not the end. This was only their last stand. The ship pierced the atmosphere, flames licking across its hull as it screamed through the sky. Inside, the crew held their breath, bodies strapped tight against violent tremors. Rian's knuckles turned white as he clutched the controls. "Hold together. Please, just hold together." Ilara whispered prayers under her breath. Her eyes closed tight. Beside her, Lyra sat completely still, her scar glowing faintly like it was alive. Then, in one final jolt, the ship broke through the clouds. What lay beneath stole their breath. Oceans shimmered under the sunlight, stretching endlessly. Forests of strange silver trees swayed in the breeze. Vast mountains pierced the skies, their peaks glowing with crystal-like stone. The planet was alive, untouched, waiting. Tears slipped down Ilara's cheeks. "It's real. We made it." Rian laughed shakily, almost not believing his own eyes. "After everything, we're really here." But even in the face of beauty, they knew their task was not over. The ship was damaged, fuel running low, and systems failing. They had to land before it was too late. Rian guided the vessel toward a wide valley, engines sputtering with every second. Smoke filled the cabin as alarms blared one after another. "Brace yourselves," he shouted. The ship slammed into the valley floor, metal screeching, sparks exploding. They were thrown violently against their seats. Panels ripped free, flames burst through the walls, and then silence. When the dust settled, the Misfits slowly opened their eyes. They were alive. The valley stretched wide, covered in grass that shimmered blue under sunlight. Strange creatures, with wings like glass, flew overhead. A warm breeze brushed against their skin. For the first time in years, they felt air that wasn't recycled by machines. Ilara knelt on the ground, touching the grass with trembling hands. "It's warm. It's soft." Rian sank to his knees beside her, laughing and crying all at once. "We're not ghosts drifting in space anymore. We're alive." But Lyra remained standing, her eyes scanning the horizon. "The void let us pass, but it will never forget us." Her words carried weight, but no fear. They worked quickly, setting up emergency tents, salvaging supplies from the wreck. Each movement felt heavy with meaning. This was no longer survival for themselves. This was the first step of a new beginning, for all humanity still waiting in the darkness of Earth. That night, as stars stretched across the alien sky, they lit a small fire. The flames danced against their tired faces, filling the silence with warmth. Rian stared into the fire. "We're not just misfits anymore. We're something else." Ilara smiled faintly. "We're proof that broken people can still build something whole." Lyra's gaze stayed fixed on the stars above. "We defied the void. That is enough." For a while, they sat quietly, just breathing, just existing. The simple act of being alive felt like victory. But the peace didn't last. From the wrecked ship, a loud bang echoed. Cade! He had been left locked inside, alive but furious. His shouts carried into the valley, filled with rage and despair. Rian looked toward the ship nervously. "We can't leave him like that forever." Ilara's expression softened. "He tried to destroy us." but he's still human. If this is a new world, maybe we start different this time. No more hate. No more chains. Against Rhiannon's protest, they opened the chamber. Cade stumbled out, weakened, eyes burning with bitterness. He stared at them, then at the alien valley, at the fire, at the endless stars. His lips trembled, as though he wanted to speak, but couldn't. Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm. The void is inside you. You can feed it, or you can fight it. Choose. For the first time, Cade's gaze faltered. The hatred did not vanish, but it cracked. He lowered his head, saying nothing. That silence was enough. Days turned into weeks. They built shelter, learned to purify water, studied the strange plants and animals. Slowly, painfully, they carved life out of the unknown. Every night, by the fire, they spoke of Earth, not as a grave, but as a home that might rise again, if their signal reached it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the mountains, Rhiannon adjusted the transmitter salvage from the wreck. Sparks flew, but finally a green light blinked. "It's working," he whispered. "The message is going out." Ilara pressed her hand over his. "Then Earth will know. Humanity will know." They looked at each other, exhausted yet smiling. For the first time, the future felt real. On the final night, as the three of them sat under the alien sky, Lyra spoke words that would stay with them forever. "We came as broken pieces. Misfits. Outcasts. But the void did not destroy us. We carried fire into its darkness. That is why we won." The flames flickered in their eyes, casting shadows across their tired faces. They were no longer just survivors. They were the first chapter of a new world. And though the void lingered in the distance, waiting, watching, the misfits knew one thing. Humanity was not finished. Not yet. Not ever.